The night my father kicked me out, I stole his Wi-Fi and started building the software that would one day save his dying company. That's not a metaphor. That's the literal truth. It was 8:42 p.m. when his voice exploded through the kitchen like a shotgun blast. You want to do what? The crystal light fixtures shook from the force of his rage. Scotch sloshed over the rim of his glass. His face turned a dangerous shade of purple. I repeated, barely keeping my voice from cracking, I want to start a software company. I've already built a prototype. It's a platform that helps small businesses. Absolutely not. He slammed his glass down so hard, the marble counter trembled. The sound echoed like a gavel sealing my fate. We didn't pay for your Stanford degree, so you could throw it all away on some tech fantasy. You're joining Walker Dynamics on Monday. End of discussion. I looked to my mother, hoping, praying for a flicker of support. But she just sat there, perfectly still, wrapped in her silence like armor. The diamond bracelet I gave her for Christmas, a gift paid for with secret freelance gigs, glinted coldly on her wrist.
She didn't even look at me.
Mom. I tried, the desperation slipping through. You've seen the headlines. Small businesses are collapsing. They can't keep up. Corebridge could actually. Ethan, she interrupted, voice cool and precise. Your father is right. This tech obsession of yours isn't practical. Walker Dynamics needs you. That was the moment it clicked.
This wasn't about me.
It never had been. They didn't care about my vision. They just needed my skills to bail out the company they were too proud to admit was dying. I wasn't their son. I was their safety net. I'm not asking for money, I said. I have savings. I just need some time. Time? My father barked. You want time to play around with computers while real businesses are at stake? While your sister's out there making partner at her law firm. There it was. The golden child.
Claire.
Harvard Law. Married to a neurosurgeon. The family's proof that perfection was possible, and the constant shadow I was expected to live in. This isn't a game. I snapped. I've already gotten interest from small business owners. They need simple, affordable tech solutions. The big firms ignore them. The glass shattered inches from my head. Enough, he roared, whiskey trailing down the wallpaper like blood. You have two choices. Start Monday at Walker Dynamics, or get the hell out of my house. Let's see how long you last without us. My mother flinched, but said nothing. She never did. I stood, heart pounding, voice shaking but loud. I choose out. What? I'm leaving. I grabbed my bag already packed. Laptop. Backup drive. Essentials. I was ready for this moment. You have 1 hour, he called after me, but I was already heading up the stairs, already gone in my mind. Because I wasn't going to waste my life propping up a sinking ship for a man who couldn't see past his own ego. Kicked out and starting from nothing. The door slammed behind me with a finality that echoed in my chest. It was strange, how quiet the world felt after so much yelling. My hands trembled as I stood on the front porch of the house I'd grown up in, now suddenly a stranger to it. Just an hour ago, I'd been a son. Now I was just exiled. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. The January air bit through my hoodie as I walked to my car, backpack slung over one shoulder. Inside were the things that mattered: my laptop, a portable hard drive, 2 changes of clothes, and the notebook I'd been sketching ideas into for the past year. My emergency bag. I'd packed it weeks ago, not because I wanted this, but because I knew this was coming. I sat in the driver's seat, slammed the door shut, and just breathed. My phone buzzed. A message from Jaden. Operation Escape still on? Happening now. Plan B initiated. I replied, thumbs moving fast. We talked about this scenario dozens of times, me getting kicked out for chasing a dream they'd never understand. Jaden had offered me his couch above his family's restaurant, but I needed to be mobile, untraceable, just in case my father tried to drag me back with lawyers and guilt. Instead, I parked 2 blocks away from the house that had just thrown me out, close enough to tap into the high-speed Wi-Fi I'd installed, far enough to disappear. My laptop powered up in the dark like a beacon. Lines of code filled the screen as I slipped back into my zone, the rhythm of the keyboard faster than my thoughts. My prototype, Corebridge, was taking shape. I poured myself into it, not to prove them wrong, not yet. Right now, I needed to survive. Jaden showed up an hour later, knocking on my window with a bag of food. "Mom made pad thai," he said, offering it with a crooked smile. Her way of feeding the revolution. I laughed, half choking on the emotion stuck in my throat. "Tell her she's the MVP." He peered into my car. "You sure about this? My couch is warmer than your driver's seat." I shook my head, tapping my laptop screen. I need to stay invisible. Can't risk them finding me and trying to guilt me back into the company. Jaden's eyes drifted to the glowing interface. "This what you've been working on?" I nodded. Corebridge. All-in-one platform for small businesses. Point of sale, inventory, customer management, digital storefronts. Simple, scalable, affordable. Everything big tech doesn't care enough to offer. He gave a low whistle. "Looks like something my parents could use." "We're still scribbling orders on napkins." "Exactly." I leaned back. There are millions of businesses like that, struggling to stay relevant because no one's building for them. They deserve better. That night, I didn't sleep. I coded. Every keystroke was a rebellion. Every function I built was one more piece of proof that I didn't need them. That maybe, just maybe, I could build something bigger than what they ever imagined for me. I showered at a $20 per month gym, ate protein bars, and rotated through coffee shops with decent Wi-Fi and low noise. At night, I returned to the neighborhood I wasn't welcome in, hacking the signal I once gifted them, to upload builds, run simulations, and dream. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I stared at that house, the one with the manicured lawn, the glowing windows, the people who thought they'd broken me, and whispered, "Watch me." I wasn't just building a company. I was building a way out, a way forward. And one day, whether they liked it or not, they were going to see just how wrong they'd been. Building Corebridge in the shadows. Days turned into weeks. I didn't have a bed, but I had a mission. And honestly, that was enough. Every morning, I woke up in the cramped backseat of my car, bones sore and stiff, my breath fogging up the windows. I'd brush my teeth at the gym, chug protein shakes in parking lots, and head to whatever coffee shop was quiet enough to work in without raising suspicion. I became a master at ordering the cheapest item on the menu and nursing it for hours. A single espresso could buy me a day's worth of electricity and Wi-Fi. But at night, when the world went to sleep, I'd return to that same familiar side street 2 blocks from my parents' house. Same signal, same code, same fire in my chest. Corebridge was evolving. What started as a rough prototype was quickly becoming something real. Sleek, intuitive, powerful. It had everything a small business would need: point of sale, inventory tracking, customer communication tools, online storefronts. All in one place. All at a price that wouldn't kill their budget. I was making it for them. For the little guys. The corner bookstores. The mom-and-pop diners. The food trucks barely hanging on because they couldn't afford a custom system. I wasn't building this out of spite anymore. I was building it because someone had to. Then came the first break. A local bookstore owner, a woman named Mrs. Lambert, agreed to test Corebridge after a demo I nervously gave in the back of her shop. Her face lit up when she saw how easily she could track inventory and sales in real time. "QuickBooks makes me feel stupid," she confessed. "But this? I could actually use this." A week later, she pulled me into a tight hug, her voice breaking. "You just saved my store, Ethan. My family's future." Her eyes were wet, and for a second, I couldn't move, just stood there, laptop dangling in my hand, feeling the weight of what I'd done sink in. I charged her next to nothing. Didn't care. I just wanted her to use it. Soon after, a family-owned hardware store reached out. Then a food truck business. The guy who ran the taco truck insisted I take a free plate one day, and his 10-year-old son shuffled up to me, holding out a crayon drawing of his dad's truck with Super Ethan scrawled across the top. "Thanks for helping my dad," he mumbled. "He says I can play soccer now, 'cause we're not so worried." I folded that drawing into my pocket, a quiet fire sparking in my chest. Then a tiny boutique struggling with online orders. All of them frustrated with overpriced, bloated software that treated small businesses like an afterthought. And suddenly, I had real users, real data, and real income. Not much, but enough to rent a dusty, one-room studio on the edge of town. I paid in cash, kept my name off the lease, still hid like a fugitive, afraid my father would try to rescue me from the very thing I was building to save him. But then it all crashed. One night, I woke up to a flood of panicked emails. Corebridge had been hacked. A security flaw I'd overlooked in my rush to scale. Let someone in. Customer data from my early users, Mrs. Lambert, the taco truck, the boutique, was gone. Orders vanished. Inventory records wiped. My phone buzzed nonstop with angry messages. Mrs. Lambert's email hit hardest. I trusted you, Ethan. What am I supposed to do now? I sat on the floor of my studio, staring at a blank screen, my backup drive useless, corrupted in the chaos. Weeks of work, gone. The fire in my chest snuffed out, replaced by a cold, heavy dread. I'd failed them. Failed myself. For the first time, I wondered if my father was right. If this was just a fantasy I couldn't pull off. I texted Jaden. It's over. I'm done. He showed up an hour later, banging on my door, a six-pack of beer in one hand and his laptop in the other. You're not quitting, he said, shoving past me. Not after everything. I lost it all, Jay. They're gone. I'm a fraud. He cracked open a beer, handed it to me, and pulled up a chair. You're not a fraud. You're human. Shit happens. We fix it. He opened his laptop, revealing a partial backup he'd made from a demo I'd shown him weeks ago. It's not everything, but it's a start. You built this once in a damn car. You can do it again here. I stared at him, the weight lifting just enough to breathe. Why are you still here? Because I believe in this.
In you.
And those people out there? They need you to get back up. That night, we rebuilt. Line by line. Function by function. By morning, I had a skeleton of Corebridge back online, and I sent apology emails with promises to make it right. Mrs. Lambert forgave me first, her reply simple. Keep going, kid. One night, weeks later, I got an email from a stranger, a woodshop owner from out of state who'd heard about Corebridge through a friend. I was about to close up shop, he wrote. Your platform pulled me out of the chaos. I can breathe again. Thank you. Attached was a photo of a wooden plaque carved with Corebridge saved us. I printed that email and taped it to my wall, staring at it whenever doubt crept in again. Then, out of nowhere, Claire showed up. I was halfway through debugging a checkout issue at my favorite coffee shop when her designer heels clicked across the tile behind me. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You're living like a vagrant to prove a point? I didn't even flinch. I'm building something that matters. You're throwing away your future, she hissed. Dad's furious. You know that, right? You've embarrassed him. He embarrassed himself, I said. The company's falling apart. The systems are ancient. You know it as well as I do. Then help fix it. I am fixing it, I said, finally looking her in the eye. Just not on their terms. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she dropped a thick envelope on my table and left without another word. Inside, $5,000 in cash. A note scribbled on firm legal paper. Don't be stupid. Come home. I didn't come home. I bought a better laptop and upgraded my server capacity instead. A few weeks later, Claire showed up again unannounced. She watched me demo Corebridge for a new client, her arms crossed. Before she left, she slid a coffee across the table with a note. I tried it for my firm. It's good. Don't get caught. She smirked faintly, and I tucked that scrap of paper into my wallet like a secret trophy. By the end of month 2, Corebridge had 10 active users and a full beta testing group. Each new feature came straight from real conversations with business owners. Real pain points. Real problems I could solve. At night, I still coded in the dark. Still tapped into that signal they didn't know I was using. Still pushed updates under cover of stars. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was growing. And the funny thing was, while they thought I was lost, I was actually building the very thing they would someday need most. They just didn't know it yet. The call that changed everything. The email came at 2:13 a.m. I was hunched over my laptop, hoodie pulled tight, eyes dry and stinging from hours of debugging an API integration issue. My studio apartment was silent except for the hum of my secondhand mini fridge and the soft clatter of keys. Subject line: Corbridge, investor inquiry. My heart stuttered. I clicked it open, pulse racing. Hi, Ethan. My name is Charles Widner from Pioneer Capital. One of our portfolio companies mentioned your Corbridge platform. We'd love to schedule a call to learn more, specifically about your growth model and market strategy. Are you available this week? I stared at the screen like it might vanish if I blinked. Pioneer Capital, one of the most respected early-stage investment firms in the country, known for spotting disruptors before anyone else did. Backers of giants. They had heard of me. I reread the message twice, 3 times, then checked the sender domain to make sure it wasn't a prank. It wasn't. They'd found me partly because of a blog post that had gone semi-viral, a review from Jaden's parents' restaurant. A local food blogger had written, "Corbridge, the unsung hero of Main Street. This isn't just software," the post raved. "It's a lifeline for small places like this fighting to survive." It had been shared hundreds of times, popping up on X and catching eyes I never expected. The next morning, I trimmed my beard, ironed my only decent button-down, and walked into a video call like I wasn't sitting on a $90 desk from Craigslist. Charles was younger than I expected, sharp suit, sharper eyes. His background wasn't some fancy office, just a simple room with clean lighting and a whiteboard full of diagrams. A builder. My kind of person. "Walk me through it," he said, gesturing to my shared screen.
So I did.
I showed him how Corbridge simplified business operations, how in under 60 minutes, a non-technical store owner could go from a paper ledger to a fully integrated digital operation. I walked him through point-of-sale, inventory, customer analytics, online presence, even automated marketing features. "Who's your competition?" he asked. I didn't flinch. Everyone. And no one. The big guys, Square, Salesforce, Oracle, they don't care about small business. Not really. Their tools are too complicated or too expensive. We're filling the gap. Seamless, affordable, and scalable. Charles leaned back, thoughtful. How many users? 28 paying. All word of mouth. 0 churn. He nodded. That's impressive. Then came the question I knew was coming. "You're Richard Walker's son, right? Walker Dynamics." I tensed. I was. "I'm not involved with the company anymore." He studied me for a long moment. "I invested in Walker Dynamics once," he said. "A long time ago. Before your father bought out the minority shareholders. The company's struggling now, stuck in legacy systems. Just like the businesses you're targeting." I kept my face neutral. "That's a coincidence." "Is it?" he asked and then smiled. "Either way, we're interested." He tapped on his screen. A new document appeared in the shared window. Seed funding offer. $2 million for 20% equity. Condition: expand Corbridge to serve mid-sized businesses as well. "Like Walker Dynamics," I said quietly. "If that's what you want to read into it," he said with a shrug. "I'm saying there's an entire underserved segment of mid-sized companies. Too small for enterprise platforms. Too big for small business solutions. You're already halfway there." My mind spun. $2 million. It was more than I'd ever dare hope for. It could fund a real dev team, real offices, real infrastructure. Not just survival, scale, but also, "Full control stays with me," I said. "I decide the roadmap. No interference." "Of course," Charles said without hesitation. "We invest in founders, not formulas. We back vision." I didn't sleep that night. Claire reviewed every clause of the contract over a weekend. She circled terms, highlighted risks, and grilled me like a prosecuting attorney. But at the end of it, she leaned back, pushed the papers toward me, and said, "You're really doing this. You're going to go head-to-head with Dad." "No," I said quietly. "I'm going to save him, whether he realizes it or not." 3 days later, I signed the deal. Corebridge wasn't just a scrappy startup anymore. It was funded,
Armed.
ready to grow. And in the shadows of the company that kicked me out, I started designing something even bigger, an enterprise version built specifically to fix the very cracks in Walker Dynamics they refused to see. They didn't want my help? That was fine. Because the next time they saw me, they wouldn't even realize they were shaking hands with the son they'd cast aside. They'd just know they were being rescued by the very software I built in the dark. The Trojan horse. The ink was barely dry on the Pioneer Capital deal when I locked myself in a borrowed conference room, pulled out every note I'd ever made about Walker Dynamics, and started to build my Trojan horse. It wouldn't carry my name. Not officially. We created a new division, Corebridge Pro, packaged as a sleek, enterprise-grade solution tailored for mid-sized companies struggling to modernize. A full-stack operations system built on the Corebridge framework, but enhanced with multi-location logistics, ERP integration, custom analytics, and scalable cloud infrastructure. Every line of code was forged in fire, pain, exile, ambition. Every feature was designed with them in mind. While my father thought I was out there floundering, I was reverse engineering his company's salvation. I wasn't alone anymore. Pioneer's funding allowed me to hire real talent. Developers, designers, a business strategist. And Jaden, my ride or die, became head of customer success. His years helping his family run a small restaurant gave him instincts no MBA could teach. We launched Corebridge Pro under a shell company, Orion Systems, with no visible link to me. A whisper campaign began across the B2B space, targeting companies that looked just like Walker Dynamics, bloated, outdated, and terrified of irrelevance. The response was immediate. Our first major client was a regional manufacturing chain, ironically, a former supplier of Walker Dynamics. Within weeks, they were singing our praises. The numbers didn't lie. Faster inventory cycles, reduced errors, higher customer retention. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Jaden burst into my office, breathless. "You need to see this." He dropped a laptop in front of me, where a forwarded email from an @walkerdynamics.com address waited open. "Our current systems are failing. ERP is crashing twice a week. We're bleeding clients. I need options by next board meeting." Walker Dynamics CTO. I sat back, heart pounding. My father had finally caved. They were looking for help. 2 days later, our Orion Systems sales team, handpicked, trained, and unaware of my history, walked into the marble and mahogany lobby of Walker Dynamics to present Corebridge Pro. I watched the whole meeting via a secure video feed from a dark corner office across town. The feed opened on a sleek conference room. At the head of the table sat him, Richard Walker, grayer now, face lined, jaw tight. He hadn't changed that much. Still radiated power, like a man born to command. But for the first time, he looked cornered. "Our solution is modular, cloud-native, and scalable," my lead explained. "No massive upfront cost. Seamless integration. And we've helped companies just like yours reverse years of inefficiency in under 6 months." I saw the moment it clicked. My father's fingers tapped the table, a twitch in his jaw. He knew this was what they needed.
Knew it down to his bones. But he couldn't say it.
He couldn't admit that a bunch of unknowns in hoodies had outbuilt his legacy. One board member, an old warhorse named Green, leaned forward. "This is the 12th pitch we've heard in 2 months. The only one that speaks directly to our pain points. How soon can we deploy?" My father snapped, "We'll review all options before rushing into anything." But it was too late. The room had shifted. This wasn't his company anymore, not in spirit. The decision was inevitable. I closed the video feed, my hands shaking, not from nerves, but from the weight of everything I'd just seen. They didn't know it yet, but I'd just sold Walker Dynamics the very solution they needed to survive. And when they signed the deal, they wouldn't just be licensing software. They'd be inviting me back into the company, through the front door this time, not as the wayward son, but as the architect of their redemption. The sun returns. The day of the board meeting, I sat in my car outside Walker Dynamics headquarters, same street, same spot, just like the nights I used to park here and steal their Wi-Fi, coding by the glow of my dashboard lights. Except this time, I wasn't hiding. I adjusted my tailored blazer, designer now, but still modest enough not to scream, and checked my phone. Everyone's in place, Claire texted. Charles is already inside. Board is prepped. And yes, Dad has no idea. I took a breath, opened the door, and walked through the front entrance of the building that once banished me. The receptionist froze. Can I help you? I'm expected, I said simply. The elevator ride felt like a lifetime. As the doors opened onto the top floor, the chatter beyond the boardroom glass went silent. My father looked up mid-sentence. His face twisted, first in disbelief, then in confusion, and finally fury. What the hell are you doing here? He roared, slamming his fist on the table. The room jolted. I'm here regarding the Corebridge Pro contract, I said calmly, placing my laptop on the table. This is a closed meeting, he barked, standing so fast his chair scraped the floor. Security. Actually, Charles Widner interrupted smoothly from the other side of the table. Ethan's presence was requested, by me, as Pioneer Capital now holds a substantial interest in this company's next operational phase. The room fell deathly still. My father's eyes narrowed, his voice a low growl. You don't belong here. I connected my laptop to the boardroom screen and brought up the Corebridge dashboard. Not the pro version. The original. The one I'd coded in parking lots, gym locker rooms, and midnight cafes. The one powered by spite, coffee, and dreams they never believed in. I built this, I said quietly. The night you threw me out. Gasps rippled through the room. My mother, seated near the corner as always, stared in stunned silence, her hands clenched in her lap. I used your Wi-Fi, I continued, my voice steady despite the storm brewing across the table. Camped 2 blocks away in my car. And every night, while you slept, I built a platform that started with small businesses, then scaled to mid-sized enterprises like yours. I switched to the Pro interface. This, I said, is Corebridge Pro. Designed not just for businesses like Walker Dynamics, but specifically for Walker Dynamics. Every feature addresses a flaw I personally experienced while working in your system. Every integration was coded based on vulnerabilities your IT ignored for a decade. You've been spying on us? My father spat, his face purple again, veins bulging. No, I said. I've been trying to save you. The only way you'd allow. Charles cleared his throat. We've run the numbers. Corebridge Pro's adoption could reverse Walker Dynamics' negative trend within 2 quarters. That's why we're proposing a full merger. My father's head snapped around. Merger? His voice cracked the air like thunder. He slammed both hands on the table, leaning forward. This is my company. I built it. You think I'm going to let some kid, my own son, waltz in here and take it from me? I'll resign before I let this happen. I'm calling my lawyers right now. He reached for his phone, his hands trembling with rage. The board members shifted uncomfortably, murmurs spreading like wildfire. Green tried to speak, but my father cut him off. No. This is a hostile takeover dressed up as a rescue. I won't stand for it. I stood my ground, heart pounding but voice level. This isn't a takeover. It's a lifeline. You're drowning, Dad. You just won't admit it. He froze, phone in hand, glaring at me like I'd just plunged a knife into his chest. The room held its breath. Then Claire stood. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor, commanding silence. She adjusted her blazer, her face a mask of steel. The lawyer, the golden child, the one they all listened to. Enough, she said, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Dad, you've spent decades building this company, and we all respect that. But maybe it's time we let go of ego and start listening to the people who see the future. Ethan's not here to destroy your legacy. He's here to save it. And if you can't see that, then maybe you're the one who doesn't belong here anymore. The room went dead silent. My father's hand dropped, the phone clattering onto the table. His jaw tightened, but for the first time, he had no words. Claire's eyes met mine, just a flicker of something softer, a nod, and she sat back down. Charles seized the moment. The merger terms are on the screen. SmartBridge Technologies will acquire a controlling stake in Walker Dynamics. We'll retain the name, the core product lines, the legacy, but modernized. Richard Walker will step into a new role, Chairman Emeritus. Strategic Advisory. No daily operations. My mother exhaled, a shaky sound breaking the stillness. My father sank back into his chair, his fight draining out of him. The board looked around, waiting for his next move, but he didn't have one. They'd seen the numbers. They'd heard Claire. They knew the truth. Unanimous vote required, Charles said, his tone firm but neutral. One by one, hands went up.
Green. 2 more.
Another. Claire's hand rose last, her gaze locked on our father. All eyes turned to him. His hand hovered, trembling, his pride warring with reality. Finally, after an eternity, he raised it, slowly, reluctantly, but he raised it. The merger passed. He didn't look at me.
Couldn't.
The room emptied in a haze, board members filing out, their whispers buzzing like static. My father stayed seated, staring at the frozen Corebridge dashboard on the screen, his shoulders slumped. I closed my laptop and sat beside him. I didn't do this to humiliate you, I said quietly. I did it because you wouldn't let me help the way I needed to. You thought control was the same as care. It's not. He didn't respond at first. Then, barely audible. Your grandfather, he would have liked this. I smiled faintly. I think he would have built it with me. He turned to me, his eyes heavier than I'd ever seen them. You proved me wrong. No, I said. I proved myself right. Later that week, as the merger made headlines and the industry buzzed with talk of legacy rebirth, I returned to the same corner of our old neighborhood, where it all began. The Wi-Fi signal still showed up on my phone. I didn't need it anymore. But I connected anyway. Just for old time's sake. Legacy reborn. 1 year later, I stood in what used to be my father's office. Now it was mine. The walnut desk, once a symbol of everything I wasn't allowed to touch, was covered in quarterly reports that exceeded every forecast we'd made during the merger. Corebridge Pro had become the backbone of the new Walker Dynamics. Employee morale was up. Client retention had stabilized. Profit margins were climbing for the first time in half a decade. My father sat across from me, not as an adversary, but as Chairman Emeritus. He wore a simple suit now, no pocket square, no ego armor. Just a man coming to terms with the fact that sometimes, in order to save a legacy, you have to let go of the reins. You were right, he said quietly, staring at the charts in front of him.
About what?
I asked, half expecting a sarcastic jab. About everything, he admitted. About the technology, the market, the way I was running this place into the ground. I nodded. We'd had this conversation before, but it never stopped hitting me hard when it came from him. You weren't wrong to want to protect it, I said. But protection without evolution is just slow death. He exhaled. You know, your grandfather built this company in a garage, with nothing but scrap parts and a blueprint drawn in pencil. And now here you are, rebuilding it from code and Wi-Fi, out of the back seat of your car. He gave a small smile, the real kind I hadn't seen since I was a kid. He would have been proud of you. Hell, I'm proud of you. That got me. Not the success. Not the headlines. Not the investor praise or glowing tech articles. But that. I glanced at my phone. A message from Jaden lit up the screen. Another lead, family-owned logistics firm. Needs full modernization. Want it? I smiled. There was always another business to save. Another family-run operation on the brink, held together with duct tape and dreams. Now we had the tools to help them. And we were just getting started. Thinking of expanding the enterprise division again, I said to my father, pulling up the pitch deck I'd been working on. Bigger contracts. International clients. Maybe even government infrastructure. He raised an eyebrow. Ambitious. I shrugged. Legacy isn't built by playing small. That night I passed by our old house, the one I used to code in front of like a ghost haunting my own past. The porch light was on. My mother's voice came through my phone speaker. Dinner's at 7. Don't be late. Your father made his meatloaf. He insists it's better now. Is it? I grinned. Let's just say he's learning. I pulled into the driveway, the Wi-Fi automatically connecting. Old signal. New life. Because the best revenge wasn't proving them wrong. It was building something so undeniable, so powerful, so true, that even the ones who doubted you had no choice but to believe. And if this story hit you, whether it's the grit, the grind, or the way it all came full circle, I'm sharing more journeys like this over on my channel. Hit that subscribe button if you want to ride along for the next one. There's plenty more where this came from.